Welcome, ghouls and goblins, to the Hall of Maim.
The Horror Review and React YouTube channel where we discuss horror topics from two perspectives.
That of someone new to the scene.
And that of someone who loves the genre. Our goal is to catalog different avenues of horror and to fill the Hall of Maim.
Putting a spooky spin on the phrase, Hall of Fame.
Yes, in this week's video, we will be discussing the terror of The Conjuring. Released in 2013 and directed by James Wan, does this movie deserve a frame in our halls? Let's find out.
Here we are on our first episode.
Yes.
This is exciting.
Yeah, welcome everybody. This is awesome. Thank you so much for tuning in with us. So pretty much as stated, we are going to be reviewing The Conjuring. You could find a link in the description to the actual video where we
watch it.
Yeah, where we watch it, pretty much. So please check that out. Feel free to check that out. So a little bit of the plot summary here, before we really get into everything, just in case some of our viewers find it a little too scary to actually watch it. The film starts off in 1971, where a family of 6, the Perrons, move into a quaint farmhouse in Rhode Island that has quite the background, unbeknownst to them, of course. Within only a few nights, they end up encountering strange paranormal occurrences that leave them all pretty spooked. They decide to contact the infamous demonologists Ed and Lorraine Warren. They conduct an investigation and realize quickly that the house most definitely is haunted.
I'll say.
And requires an exorcism. So, Justin.
That's me.
Tell me of your thoughts. What did you think of the movie?
Well, I thought it was very well filmed.
Yeah.
It was beautifully shot.
Yeah.
And the imagery was amazing. There was points in the movie where I felt like I was almost confused as what the entities were. Like, definitely at the beginning, once they were introducing it, and like where we couldn't see them yet, but like the kids could see the entities, things like that. It was a little confusing at first, but yeah, it wrapped up really nicely, I feel.
Yeah. All right. So, who were your favorite characters?
Definitely Brad.
Brad is your
Brad
favorite
the officer. Yeah, because he's Brad. And I like the Asian kid. I don't know if I ever knew his name.
No, I don't remember his name either. I'm sure it was said multiple times, and we just flew right by it.
He also had the teleporting effect that Annabelle seemed to have when he was setting up all the cameras.
Montage.
Yep. He was just teleporting around like, oh, hey, we're not just going to address the fact that our human friend is teleporting. Okay.
Right.
We're just going to play it off like it's just the movie, but that's how it was.
Yeah, that's how it actually was.
It's based off of a true story, so he had to have had that ability, right?
He had to. Yeah. That's exactly how it happened. Do you ever feel like there were moments in your life where you could have, like, if there was a movie being made of you, where there's a moment like, oh, I could absolutely see this being a montage?
In my current life?
Yeah.
No.
No?
No, my life is so straightforward right now.
I guess,
I don't see there being a montage anywhere.
Right. Well, you were just helping your dad this morning with stuff. I mean,
that's
boring.
Like
you could have like a whole little montage of you guys running around like Speed. You know,
I don't feel like I've lived enough of my life to dictate where the plot of my movie begins and ends.
I see.
You know?
Okay.
I don't know what's the future's to hold, so I don't want to waste my one movie opportunity with my childhood.
I guess, yeah.
Like,
I mean, that's like a big part, though.
That'd be a short scene, I feel, though, because it's
for
all
you,
like,
yes.
wow, I'm in school. Wow, I'm alive. Yeah.
Woo! I guess so. Yes. Some people have probably had a lot more experiences than you have had in your life, but. You know, that's okay. That's everyone's different.
I'll get there.
So probably my favorite character, I have 2 favorite characters.
Okay.
Ed and Lorraine. I am in love with how they act in the movie.
Yep.
I love the way that they are portrayed in this movie. I wonder, however, if they are as accurate as the actual Lorraine.
Right, they've got to dramatize it for the movies.
I feel like they do.
It's never going to be really sincere and like 100% accurate, but no movie can be. Like even movies like Bohemian Rhapsody. Like, I'm sure they dramatized a few aspects of Freddie Mercury's life, but
probably
that's not why we're here.
Because we don't know what was really going on. Well,
exactly.
Well, that's not true, because we're going to get into this a little bit later, but the two actors that played Ed and Lorraine, they sat with the real Ed and Lorraine for about 3 days and talked with them and Ed and Lorraine actually got to tell them how they felt in those moments and have that kind of... So, it's much easier.
It definitely helps when you're portraying someone who's still alive.
Yeah, definitely, yeah. And, they were just wonderfully acted in this movie.
Yes.
They were great. Okay, so what did you love about the movie? What were some things that you...
Filmography.
Okay, so the filmography you loved.
That's
great.
number one.
Now, what about the story? Is there anything...
Well, when a story is based off of true events, then it's not like the writers had a lot that they could wiggle through in terms of what actually happened versus what they could add. And I have yet to hear the true story, which I'm aware we will be talking about.
Yes, we're going... This is a lot.
Yeah,
There's a lot of depth to this story.
So I'm sure once I am told that story, then I'll get a better sense. But in terms of the writing, I mean, it was well written. There were a few moments where dialogue felt a little bit cheesy. It's like groovy, Like I get it's in the 70s, but like, come on.
It's hard to see that.
You're writing for modern days, so
I mean, well, this was released in 2013.
Still,
even
though, you don't hear people saying groovy
almost 10
and
years
radical
ago.
and stuff.
Yeah. Oh man, that's hard. That's hard to hear nowadays. My favorite part's definitely just the whole exorcism scene.
Yeah.
Is
that's
phenomenal.
Really cool. It was really cool.
It really makes you, in the actual us watching it, it's really hard to commentate over that because you're just so immersed in it. They did such a wonderful job
in taking you into the moment.
Yeah, and it's definitely... It's up there with gore and stuff. However, this is an R-rated movie.
Was it?
Yes, this is an R-rated movie. We're going to get into some more about that.
Okay.
So later, why it was an R-rated movie.
Yeah.
But pretty much,
I mean, 2013, maybe,
yeah. Yeah. But yeah, it was... Oof. Yeah. I just love...
What did I say my favorite scene was?
I don't think you said your favorite scene.
I think I really liked it. I think one of my favorite scenes was when April was playing hide and clap with her mom upstairs, because that was so creepy in such the right way. Where you saw the hands come out and then the clap, and then they go down and it's behind her again. Oh, that's a very popular scene. That's a very... It's probably one of the most infamous moments of the Conjuring. All of their scenes. That's what I see the most of. I see GIFs like all over the place of that whenever people are talking about it, or that is always a thing then I love that. That's so cool. So terrifying. Yeah. Okay, so we got into everything we love about it. Yep.
Okay. All right. So what did you not like about it? What wasn't?
I mean,
something?
there wasn't much. Like
really,
I'm having difficulties thinking about the things that I didn't like about this movie because everything was just pretty much super well done. I'm the only thing that really stands out is how obvious the CG was when the chair flew through the room. But like it was 2013.
When anything really flew.
Everything else felt fine.
Really?
The only things that stood out to me in terms of the CG were the flying chair and the vomit.
Yeah.
Those are the only things that stood out to me in terms of being bad CG. Everything else was really good.
Yeah.
And for 2013, like, that was still pretty good. So it's crazy.
Yeah. Before we watch the movies, I do an extensive read through of the story and everything so that we can talk about it directly after we watch it, so that we remember everything. And I guess we're gonna get into it. But I guess the one thing that I don't like, and this is a little bit of a spoiler for later, is how inaccurate some things are in this movie.
You gotta dramatize for
Hollywood.
Well,
it's a little bit more than dramatized, I feel.
Like the story just changed aspects of the...
Very much so. And I think that's going to be really interesting. There's a lot of... it's very controversial, between skeptics and... people
whether or
who
not
really
they should have made so many changes.
Well, that I'm talking about skeptics of
Ghosts
and paranormal things. I'm sure they're like, oh, this is obviously so dramatized, and then when they actually, like if the parents talk about it or
Right.
anything, they're just like, okay,
I keep
yeah.
thinking you say parents, but you're saying Perrons.
Yeah, it's difficult for me now to look at this and be like, oh, this is really, really true. Like, this is exactly what happened. Because when I first saw The Conjuring,
Mm-hmm.
I thought that this was...
Which you saw in theaters.
Yes, I did see this in theaters. And I was like, oh, wow. This... See, I believe in ghosts.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, of course it's definitely, made up with Hollywood. But I didn't think, that there was anything...
Unplausible.
Yeah. It felt very, very real. And I was like, oh, this could happen.
It felt true to...
Yeah.
To what people... air quotes, know about ghosts.
Mm-hmm.
And it
Yeah.
felt very believable that it could be in the world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Kinda.
I mean, yeah, because you're a skeptic. You don't really,
yeah.
you don't believe in ghosts
No.
at all.
There is, in my opinion, always a rational reason.
Always, you're an officer.
I'm an Officer Brad in
Officer
some
Brad
cases.
about it. That's why he's your favorite character.
Until I go through what Brad went through, I mean...
Well, we hope not. I don't want half of your face to be chewed off.
I don't want you to be the one chewing it.
I know. Yeah, there you go. So, all right. Okay, so I guess now we're going to get into the real story.
Dun dun dun.
Dun dun dun. So this is going to be a lot.
I'm
to talk
prepared.
about. Are you ready?
I hope.
Okay.
I hope I'm
All
ready.
right. Not only does The Conjuring apparently account the real happenings that the family faced in the house, but Andrea Perron, the eldest of the five, she wrote 3 books accounting her experience of the only 10 years that they lived in the house. That's how much.
They lived there in 10 years?
They lived there for 10 years.
And that... So this movie didn't take place over 10 years.
No. Well...
It didn't feel like it.
No. The movie
I feel like they would have definitely said in
almost
like a week. Yeah, like a month, less than.
Hardly. Yeah. So
because I feel like they would have probably put in like a 5 years later kind of a thing.
Exactly. So no, this is all and
man, when that kind of stuff happens early on, you still live there for 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did they? I'll let you tell the story. I was going to ask, did they stay in the house afterwards? But I'll let you finish.
Yeah. The mother, Carolyn, researched the house and discovered 8 generations of families lived there, called the Arnold family.
Arnold.
Not only that, but an alarming number of deaths also happened on the property.
Yes, which they addressed in the movie.
Yes. To be very specific, they found out that there are 2 documented suicides, a poisoning death, a rape and a murder of an 11-year-old child, 2 drownings, and the passing of 4 men who froze to death on the property.
That is 10 people who died there.
Yeah, that's a lot of people. Carolyn, Ed, and Lorraine further investigated the background of the home, finding out that there was a real woman named Bathsheba who lived in the same town, but not on that property. In the mid-1800s, who was heavily rumored to be a Satanist.
So okay, town. It did not look like there were any other houses in that area. They looked very secluded.
Back then, it was farms and stuff, so it's a lot of property. Like as they were saying in the movie, and other properties were given off to other places. And that is true. That is how that works. But specifically, she did not live on that property. Apparently, there was some evidence that connected her to the death of a neighboring child. And though no official trial took place, they did ask her about, hey, Bathsheba, did you kill this child? She denied it, obviously. And she was actually never hung or even convicted of any of these claims or any of the witchcraft. She was not, nobody was like, oh, okay, we're all going to hang her. But the rumor still stood, and the town
Okay, so in the movie, she hung herself.
Yeah, she hung herself, and she declared that she was in love with Satan, and she hung herself. Right. That did not happen, and it did not even happen. How she did die, she actually died of a strange case of paralysis in her own home, not the farmhouse. And
had she even step foot on that land?
Now it is, because now I'm going to talk about the link between it. Right. How they got Bathsheba in the first place. You just look up a bunch of names and it was like, oh, this person seems good enough. The whole thing is the case of paralysis back then. They did not know what that was. Yeah. Doctors, actually it's on record for the doctor saying that she looked like she turned to stone, which I think is very sad and funny at the same time, because that's... She didn't look at Medusa or anything. Yeah. It's just more like...
She was existing, and then she turned to stone.
Yeah, and it was in her
just
sleep,
happened.
Apparently. That's just what's recorded. But as of the hauntings, the Perrons and the Warrens have both said they don't know how she ties into all this. Or they're really unsure. It's not that they don't know.
Right.
Roger Perron, the father, details his encounters with an entity that he found in the barn that hung herself. She had a broken neck and a face that would change from looking like a desecrated hornet's nest into approximately a 90-year-old woman's face with a blank stare. And their daughter, Cynthia, also saw something very different.
Was it Cynthia? I completely missed that.
Well, that's the name of her. Cool. And maybe they changed the names,
maybe,
probably not wanting to be tied to that. Anyway, their daughter, Cynthia, saw something different. And I will now be stating exactly what she said in an interview.
Okay.
So here we go. Let's see if I butcher this. I was playing upstairs with the little people, and the door opened to the closet. I thought it was one of my sisters coming through the door, but it wasn't. It was an older woman with her head tilted to the side and her arms out. She was wearing a gray dress with yellow flowers all over it and a gray apron. She had a handkerchief held out. I looked at the face, just for a second, and then I looked down and saw the handkerchief. I didn't see any feet. So I jumped and bolted and ran to the door and the next bedroom. And down those stairs, I was running so fast that I missed the landing in the middle of the stairs, so I ended up kind of going down them on my butt. Well, my mom just happened to be coming out from the kitchen, which meets the bottom of the stairs, and she basically caught me. I was hysterical, and at that time, holding my back and trying to explain to her what just happened. And she was more concerned about what was going on with my back, and I'm like, I don't care about that, Mom. She just came to me and said, "Come to me, little girl. Come to me, little girl." And that is what Cynthia said in an interview about her experience with the entity.
I'm still confused if it's one entity or not.
Yes. So now here's the thing. The only thing that really links, the only evidence that links Bathsheba to the case was an incident where Carolyn was laying on a sofa and she felt like a really sharp pain in her leg, like a pinch. Followed by like a lot of muscle spasms. She examined her leg and she found a small amount of blood coming from a perfectly circular hole in her leg. And it was Lorraine Warren who went on to suggest that the mark was similar to what was described as having been done to the infant child that Bathsheba allegedly killed.
Wow, what a solid link.
Yeah, so that is the link where Bathsheba, the main spirit of this movie that is terrorizing this family, comes into play. And that is kind of what I was saying of why I, after researching and learning about Bathsheba, this woman probably didn't have anything to do with
it. But little does she know, hundreds of years later...
Yeah.
She's the star of a blockbuster movie.
Yeah. And even worse, she
even when
knew...
she shouldn't have been.
So, the thing about Bathsheba, so this is Bathsheba, and the whole thing that's the problem is that we, what we see today is we think that the woman in this photo, in the checkered outfit, the one that's most prominent in the front of everyone, they believe that that is Bathsheba.
They're just putting a name on a person.
They are. And this is actually, 1885 is the death year of Bathsheba. So this must have been only months before.
If that's Bathsheba.
Yeah. And now the thing about this is I find that very hard to believe because I have seen multiple accounts of people reporting that after Bathsheba, so Bathsheba's, unfortunately, it is true that her few children that she had did die very young.
Yeah.
But no, her husband did not catch her sacrificing into a fireplace. No, there was nothing of that reported. But it definitely, because of the way that the town viewed her, and she knew it wasn't like everyone was just kind of, talking about it on Twitter, and she just happened not to have a Twitter account. Yeah. They were very, very aggressive towards her. And because of that, she became a hermit. And a lot of people even said that because she became a hermit, she was her personality, like, completely changed. And she became aggressive, and she was even reported to be hitting and beating farm people, that, like, the people that worked on their farm.
Okay, not her children.
No. She didn't have any children.
Her slaves, you mean?
Yeah, totally. No.
Well, I mean, it's about the time.
I don't know about any of that, but it was just told that is what...
Farm workers.
Yeah, that people, and, she had to die with that reputation to her name. And people still would go to her gravestone, and her gravestone right now is torn in two because people vandalized it. There's a fence blocking it. It's a whole thing. It's crazy. And I just feel so bad for this woman because, I think now, looking at the Salem witch trials and all that stuff,
we kind of just feel like it's a silly era in time.
It was very, yes. And, like
wow,
we don't
you guys
know.
think witches exist? Like,
and that's the thing.
Crazy,
These people that were killed, they were alleged, these things that they did were beyond what crime can say. Mm-hmm. They were sacrificing children, animals, they were cursing people, all this really crazy stuff. So we don't know if that was... just these people saying this, or something actually did happen and they just assumed, or, we don't know. And, but I think we do all have a strange suspicion that they weren't as bad as described. So who knows? Bathsheba could possibly have absolutely no tie to this at all and just knew the family in the town. Yeah. And they all were just like, it's probably Bathsheba. Just a name that was passed down in the town. About the other spirits in the house, because there was actual other spirits that the Perrons did talk about. One was not named Rory. Actually, they nicknamed them Manny. Which was believed to be the spirit of Johnny Arnold.
I hear Laurel.
Yeah?
Manny.
Laurel. Manny. Yanny. So they nicknamed Johnny Arnold's possible believed spirit Manny, not Rory. Because actually he was so playful. There was even they would.
What is Manny? Where does that come from?
I don't know. They just came up. I don't know.
Hey Manny.
Yeah, I don't know. Cool. That was just you give nicknames to people.
Cool.
Like Richard, Bob.
Yeah, whatever, man.
Other things they had like a sweeping ghost.
Like actually sweeping the floor kind of ghost?
Yeah, so apparently they would hear things like sweeping sounds in other rooms, and they would go in the room and they would see the broom fall. And things like that in like the middle of the room. There was another one
hey,
where...
man, don't bother him. He's cleaning your house for you.
Yeah, I mean, hey! And then there was another spirit who would watch the kids play. Where, they would just be playing on the floor with dolls, blocks, whatever they were playing with, coloring. And the spirit would kind of like sit either, in the corner of the room or near them. And if you made eye contact with him or went towards him at all, he would disappear. So they never, I feel like it was more of a presence feeling than an actual entity popping up. Right. If that was, allegedly what happened.
Yeah.
Because who knows at this point.
He could have just been sitting there.
Yeah.
Maybe he wasn't.
So honestly, is it too outlandish to say that they just couldn't locate an identifiable source to the seemingly aggressive spirit and just put a blame on this woman who had at least one or two strings connecting her to this family.
No, not at all. It's not at all outlandish to say that, because that's kind of what allows paranormal investigators to have a job, is to be able to make tiny connections off of the smallest detail.
Yeah. So
that's how they get how famous they are.
What I liked about this movie is that they did show that scene where Ed and Lorraine was in a completely different house with a completely different couple, and they were like, oh, that's the sound, and they were like, it's your heater. I really like that.
It's your floor creaking because of the displacement. Yeah.
They were very skeptical. They're skeptical of all of their cases
come up
until something
happens
that they can't explain happens. And that's what I like about them, because a lot of ghost hunting shows, and
they just try and convince them that something is happening, not trying to convince them that nothing's happening.
Yes, and they're in these very old locations that are decrepit and falling apart, and you'll hear a knock or a creak and they'll be like, oh, that is obviously a ghost.
Yeah, like when I hear a knock or a creak, I'm like, it's the house, because it happens. Yeah. Every once in a while, you'll get a creak in a house. That's just houses.
Yeah. And see, I've seen my fair share of things and my fair share of experience of going to locations and seeing things that I can't explain, and debunking things that could be explained. So I know... I certainly for a fact believe in ghosts. Yeah, but
of course.
You haven't experienced enough to actually say.
I'm gonna respect your beliefs, and I'm not gonna yell at you for believing in ghosts. Like, hey, if you want to believe in ghosts, that is fine by you. I have no evidence to prove the ghosts exist, so why bother believing in them?
Yeah. I guess, That's
just how I think.
That's how it is.
Yeah.
So, now I guess I'm going to talk about the current owner of the house. Owners.
Okay.
So, I guess I should start when the Perrons eventually did move out. They eventually got pushed out of the house because they said all of the situations were just too much to handle eventually.
And they lived there for 10 years.
About, yeah.
So they left in 81.
About, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then another family picked it up, and the sad part is that the owner pretty much sued Warner Brothers. Because of all of this.
Oh, okay. Because they made
the movie. They said that there was no haunting. It was completely a normal,
well, that's because it was exorcised, Simone. We saw it in the movie.
Well, hold on. So that's the thing, though. She eventually left the house because it was too much to deal with in terms of the publicity, not the actual haunting.
Right.
But now it is currently owned
by a different person.
By a different family, two individuals, and they say that the house is just as haunted as it was back then.
Okay.
So much so that they are going to be doing a live stream for an entire week of the Conjuring house. For a whole week, starting on May 9th and going to the 16th of May.
Wow.
So they believe that it's so haunted that they want to share that with everybody else.
Live stream's going to go up. Nothing's going to happen.
Nothing's going to happen. And if something does happen, it'll be very small things, probably.
And it'll feel fake because how long they just recently got the house?
No, I think they purchased it. Oh God, I'm not 1,000% sure when they purchased it.
Well, how long were the previous owners there?
The previous owners purchased the house in 87.
87. Okay. So.
And was there up until, and they were there.
For the movie.
Which released in 2013.
That's at least almost 30 years.
Yeah, so they were in there for a very long time.
And you said that they didn't have any paranormal happenings.
They said that there's nothing that
in
tortured her.
In almost 30 years of those people living there, nothing happened. And then when a new family comes in recently, my goodness, it's all back.
Not to say, not only that, they are major fans of The Conjuring. Wow. They definitely
That's
bought the
why
house.
they bought the house.
I'm
yeah.
sure that
Yep.
is why they bought the house.
Yeah.
I guess I'm trying to say I'm not trying to be insensitive or rude to the family that currently owns the house, because honestly, if we had the money and the Conjuring house went up for sale,
I mean, okay.
and we lived in Rhode Island,
Well,
and we were looking for a house,
I don't think we would go for it just to have the Conjuring.
No. It is also, it's also very beautiful
I understand
property.
that.
I would buy it for a lot of other things. There would have to be a lot of other things that come with the house. It wouldn't just be like, oh, the house is for sale and it's haunted, I need it. It has to be. I think what would get me is I love old houses. Not because I'm so enthralled with spirits that I need a haunted house or anything, but it's definitely, I love old houses, and that would be the thing that really drives me to buy it, because it's old and it's from the 1800s, and I love that house because it looks beautiful, and
it's basically a log cabin.
Yes, that's awesome.
Okay, yeah, sure.
Okay, we're obviously not going to live one day in a
log cabin.
In a log cabin,
no,
apparently.
Thank you.
Okay, well, so if you guys are actually interested in watching the week-long spookathon of the Conjuring house, we're going to link it in the description below, hosted by thedarkzone.tv. That's going to be really exciting. I'm going to be watching it. I am definitely watching it.
You're gonna watch the whole live stream.
I'm
24 hours.
I'm gonna keep it on.
You're
a
gonna
second
stay
monitor.
awake the entire time.
No, but I'm gonna be watching.
What if you miss all of the happenings that go on?
Well, to be fair, our schedules are messed up enough to where I'll be in the dark hours of the night.
You'll be there. You'll be awake at 3:07.
I'll be awake
at 3:07.
At 3:07, waiting for the clocks to stop in the house. No. But yeah, so that's going to be exciting. This is a perfect time to now go from the real story into the actual movie production and talk about that a little bit. Some quick facts about that. This movie took 20 years to make. It was in development for 20 years. There was a bidding war, actually, between 6 different studios.
From 93? It started in 93 is when they wanted to make this movie?
That's when they wanted to make this movie. And it just, they eventually gave it over to some new directors, and James Wan took it and was like, okay, so the original script, actually, the reason why it was so difficult to really do this movie is because they had to rewrite the whole script. Yeah. Originally, it was from the Perron family's perspective, but they decided to go with Lorraine and Ed Warren's perspective instead.
I kind of felt like it was flip-flop.
It was.
It wasn't exactly one or the other.
Exactly. It's not like we start with Ed and Lorraine, and that's it. And and then all of a sudden this woman is like, help my house. And we're very much in their perspective, but
help my house.
But more of a detailed script about their specific experiences. But, they wanted to probably hype it up for Hollywood. So they did that. And it was originally, before it was called The Conjuring, it was called The Warren Files. Which is how much they really wanted to put Ed and Lorraine really in it.
See, if I'm watching a movie called The Warren Files, I would expect it to cover all of their cases, not just focus on one house.
Which is why The Conjuring has multiple movies.
Oh, is it the same actors throughout?
It is the same actors.
Ed and Lorraine.
Unfortunately, Lorraine was able to see this movie. She even made a cameo in it.
Yes, we saw that.
Yes, here she is right now in the scene with the projector.
Actress.
Yeah,
the actress playing, staring him right down.
We were talking about in the actual highlights reel that I think it would be so crazy to
actually portray someone and then have them watching you portraying them, or the vice versa, or
that's
someone portraying you and you watching someone live out a part of your life.
That's insane.
It's just such a weird concept.
That's crazy.
But it happens all the time because people make history movies all the time.
Yeah. And unfortunately, I hope that the actor who played Ed, Patrick Wilson, I hope that he got a lot of information that he needed for the next movies, because unfortunately Ed passed away in 2008. Rest in peace, Ed. That is very sad. And I feel so bad. And I'm pretty sure Lorraine passed away very recently as well. And that is so sad. And give my condolences.
They lived some pretty, let's say, interesting lives.
Yes, they did. And now they're on the other side doing God knows what.
Who knows? Maybe they're fucking with people.
yeah. They're going to become the hauntings now.
Hey, I mean, when you've been fighting it all your life, might as well join them, right?
Just give in.
When you can't beat them, you gotta join them.
Yeah, there you go. Oh, no, that's so terrible. No. This is a fun little fact. The composer of the movie's soundtrack was actually the person who played Bathsheba in the movie.
I don't think it's very often when you get a composer who's also in the movie.
He was just like, sure, let's do that.
I'll play a 9-year-old woman.
A 9-year-old woman.
A 9D-year-old
9D-year-old woman.
I'll play a 9-year-old.
The composer played one of the children of the family.
Yeah. The composer played April.
Yeah, he played April. No, play Bathsheba, which is so cool.
Crazy. That's a lot of makeup.
Joseph Bishara. Very
good
talented.
job, Joey.
Yeah, Joey. All right. So this is something that's a little controversial. Obviously, when you are working on a horror film, there will be a little bit of a tense feeling with it because it's a spooky setting.
Like on set, you mean?
Yes, on set. And apparently
like
the production...
Kids?
Well, yes, but the production actually was plagued by very strange happenings.
Oh, no!
And a few of these are breezes that would disrupt the set but did not touch the trees. Phone calls that were inexplicably just cut off. And animals.
What do you mean? Like someone's in the middle of a phone call and then
and
it
just
stops?
goes boop. And and animals were known to act out oddly towards nothing that anyone else could see.
Like birds flying into windows?
No.
Oh.
Surprisingly.
Like dogs barking and stuff and things like that.
Yes. Now, even though as I continuously keep saying, I do believe in ghosts, I do not believe them to be the causes of this
things
situation.
Like that. Yeah.
There are very realistic reasons.
Especially when you have all of your film equipment. Yeah. I feel like calls are a common thing that can drop, especially if you're on location in an area that doesn't have great cell service. You're probably gonna lose a few calls.
Now, this is on set, and the soundstage that they used to actually make the house.
Right.
Who knows? This first off, sound stages have like 500 feet thick walls.
Okay.
I am exaggerating. I'm exaggerating, but it's very thick walls. I've been inside of a soundstage before, and I do remember that being a little bit difficult to get cell service.
Yeah.
Any people that work in a soundstage in our community would, if you can please tell us if this is true, that it is very difficult to get cell service inside of these soundstages. Please let us know. But for me, it was just because I thought, it's
thick walls.
It's thick walls, and
Yes, I understand that aspect of it, but when you have all of these people shoved into a soundstage for hours and hours, you've got to have communication in this business. So I feel like there are ways around it.
Wouldn't work.
There are ways around it. People are on soundstages all the time making phone calls and stuff. So I would assume that it's not entirely common. I don't think it's the soundstage's fault, is what I'm saying.
Oh,
I'm sure it might be a factor, but there was probably something else going on around it.
Okay.
I'm thinking something with equipment, not
probably
like equipment interference. Is what I would say.
On top of that, the animals.
Animals are weird. Man.
They are. They we have 3 cats and 3 dogs.
Yeah.
And we see them doing some really crazy shit all the time. We'll see them running around and
it's cute
staring.
as fuck, but
Yeah, it is. But like I could just say one of our cats, that's staring at, our door. I'm like, oh, that means that there's something at the door. No, now we don't know exactly what they meant by oddly, and these are trained professional animals. But I feel, I don't know. They're in a soundstage. There's a lot of things going on.
Oh my god, Sadie was so cute.
Oh,
that was
Sadie.
Such a nice dog.
Yeah, so sad.
It was sad what happened. Go watch the movie if you want to know. But unless you already,
she died.
Hey,
she's dead, and that's very sad. Do you think Sadie was a now prominent ghost on the property?
Oh, for sure. But I feel like dog ghosts, they're lovable. Like they'll like apparate into your front room, jump on your couch, and cuddle up with you. You know,
I would probably faint.
Yeah.
Upon seeing a dog that
adorable it is.
No.
Oh.
How scared I would be.
A ghost dog?
To see a ghost dog. Just a clear ghost dog. Or a dog that I know I do not have anymore.
Right.
That I've known to have. I would think there are a few things that would be running through my mind. One, I am literally going senile at age 23.
Yep.
And two, I would think I am very tired. Or I was slipped something in a drink. And I don't even drink that much. So it's like, what is happening? And if I am believing this to be real, wow. Like, I would just believe in everything.
Just wow.
I would believe in everything. You know, I too talk
the
about
Conjuring
how
is 100%
I believe...
accurate.
Yeah, it's 100% accurate. So something that we talked about earlier is that this is an R-rated film. The producers were really hoping that it could be a PG-13 movie. And they showed it. Yes, they showed it to the MPAA. And the MPAA said that the film was so scary that no cuts or edits possible would have made that film a PG-13 film.
Oh, man. Well, hey, I mean, good for them, I guess, because they made a film so scary that even there was no forced
gore.
To rate it.
Yeah, there was.
Like, for our standards in 2020, I feel like that would have made a PG-13 movie no problem. Mm-hmm. But the standards have changed so fast recently that...
Very.
Yeah. Back then, no. Mm-hmm. That is rated R.
Yeah, hard one. And that's the thing. Like, as I was watching the movie and knowing this information, I was trying to see, like... Because a lot of things, they were saying, we even... cut out a lot of the gore that we could have put in there and things like that. And they're right. They didn't put that much gore in the film.
So how much was there? Vomit? That was gross.
Her
flesh burning.
That was
like that's kind of gore, not like
a little bit
bloody gore.
No, but it's definitely something tense.
When she was being exorcised.
Yeah, like the blood throwing up in when they had the sheet over her.
Yeah.
But we didn't see anything.
No.
We didn't see her like back.
To our standards, that was pretty mild.
That was.
It was intense. There were fast, intense movements.
Yeah.
But which made it feel more intense. But in terms of actual visuals, it was pretty mild.
Can we just talk about the fact that Lorraine fell 2 stories?
Yeah, and only got like a small cut on her head.
Yeah.
And
she was limping.
She was limping, but she didn't break anything.
No. That was a perfect moment for them to do something crazy.
Did she fall, or was she pulled? Because she went through 3 different surfaces.
But she's a grown woman.
Right. So what I think probably happened is she probably broke the top one, because, it's an old house.
Yeah.
But I think she might have been pulled through the last 2.
Think so?
It's possible. I mean, we've seen this entity pulling people.
Yeah, that's possible that they could have
pulled her.
She could have been pulled, but
I mean, she could have fallen, she could have pulled. I'm just bringing it up as a possibility.
Yeah.
I think they probably would have made it more obvious if they were trying to make it seem that way. But.
Yeah. So you feel like there wasn't a lot of gore in this movie that there could have been?
I'm saying they were shooting for a PG-13, but I feel like the second, if I were creating it, the second that I am forced to have an R rating, I'd go all out. I'd be like, okay,
it's the final
now,
cut.
Sure, but like, when you get a rating like that, I'm like, okay, we have a few scenes we can add back in now that we know we're an R-rated movie.
Right.
Because they said they cut out some stuff, but they could have put it back in now that they had to be an R.
That's absolutely true. Well, so this is, the man who also directed, or not directed, I'm sorry. He was he the director? I think he did something in Saw. In multiple Saw films. And that's a gory movie. So, and this is the final cut rating.
Right.
Who knows what he put in to this movie before that? Yeah. Before they were like,
yeah.
So it goes to show how much they probably tried to hold back.
Yeah. Well, it would seem it's about time to determine whether or not The Conjuring deserves a spot in the Hall of Maim.
Yes. So we base our
Judgment.
Yes, off of 3 questions.
3 determining factors.
Yes. The first one will be, did it break box office records?
How much money did this movie make?
The film broke box office records after bringing in a total of $41 million at the box office. Yeah, that's a lot. And it's only on its opening weekend.
So, like, 2 days.
2 days. It stands the 3rd highest grossing opening weekend for an R-rated horror film, behind Paranormal Activity 3 and The Hannibal.
Well, hey, I mean, those are decent movies, I hear.
We'll be watching those.
Yeah.
So, The Conjuring actually made a total of $137 million at the box office.
For the entire time it was in theater.
Yeah, for the entire time it was in theaters.
How much did they spend on making the movie?
I think about $20 million.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, they definitely made what they used.
Yeah, they got back a little bit.
In the first weekend they made that back, so.
Yeah.
Man, this is super expensive business.
Yes, extremely.
Okay, so that was a yes on the first fact.
So yes, they did.
Cool.
Was it scary, Justin?
It definitely had some spook factor.
Mm-hmm.
It was very good at taking my expectations and subverting them.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, in that fact, I was a little bit frightened.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I would say
for
overall,
me, I would say yes.
Yeah.
Because it scarred me.
Yeah. Well,
and I couldn't sleep for
a week. Yeah.
So yeah, absolutely, I would say. And another thing, did it accurately tell a story that made sense and something that you could believe?
Something that I could believe?
You.
Not believing in ghosts?
Yes. Could you see this thing actually happening? If
In terms of, okay, so let's go with under the assumption that I believe in ghosts.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Based off of how people observe ghosts and what people think ghosts are capable of, I suppose, yes, this does work in a sense.
Okay.
Everything I know about possession seemed accurate. Like, I had known previously that to possess something, you had to insert bodily fluids like vomit or things like that.
That's the presumption.
Yeah.
There's a lot of different ways that a possession can happen.
Right. Like,
it's not just
what I know of the whole actual real world ghostly demonic stuff, that seemed something I knew. Like, it felt familiar. Like, I knew something like that had to happen. So yeah, I mean, it did tell an accurate story in terms of it was pretty consistent from the beginning to the end.
Yeah, I would definitely agree.
Yes.
Yeah. I would say yes, as somebody that believes in ghosts. I thought the whole story, when I first saw it, I was like, oh, this is as real as they could have gotten to the movie.
Right.
Now, doing the research
and knowing the
story, that kind of sucks. That, they kind of smeared this person's name that doesn't seem to have much relevance to the family at all, or to the haunting in general, but still,
it's not as accurate as the real story, but it is still a compelling story,
and I could definitely see it actually happening. All right,
so that's 3 yeses.
That's 3 yeses.
It broke the box office records, it was scary, and it did tell an accurate story.
Yeah.
So what does that mean for The Conjuring?
I believe that means that The Conjuring deserves a place upon our walls.
Well, would you look at that? Our first movie and our first portrait.
Yep. Number 1.
Only so many more to go.
Yep.
Thank you for strolling down our halls. You have our sincerest gratitude. Please don't let the fact that we're paintings discourage you from clicking the subscribe button.
Yeah, and ringing of the bell should inform you when we upload.
See you soon.
See you soon.